Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is to discuss a little bit more of the immaturity on the part of someone who is narcissistic or psychopathic. When we're talking about someone who is narcissistic, we're talking about really sort of a personality disorder. We're not really talking about labels here. We want to make this really easy to be palatable and easy understood. When we're talking about immaturity, we're talking about really someone who has kind of like stunted growth at one area of development that would not really coincide with their age or with their culture or what you would expect given their circumstances, their intelligence, their upbringing and background. So in other words, all arrows don't point to this immaturity. That there's something awry, that there's something off, and it usually catches people by surprise. Namely in the way of sort of anger, backlashing, or attack. They'll sort of express displeasure with you, make you feel that you're on the outs. The relationship is in danger. You are coming from the wrong place. You are wrong. You are to be shamed. You are not right. That you are off. So there's this immaturity, which is very much like a 2-year-old who is trying to get their way. So really all they are really living in is their own little bubble, their own selfish bubble. I mean, we're not putting down 2-year-olds. We're trying to understand the psychological level of maturity. So just like you can't be angry at a 2-year-old for being a 2-year-old, you can't really be angry at a narcissist or a psychopath for having a temper tantrum. They are just at sort of a delayed or inappropriate level of emotional development. When do you see this rear its ugly head? When they don't have their momentary needs met and you have conflicting or presenting needs and they want to jockey their needs out ahead of yours. So, this is just like their needs being challenged. They suffer, and you will see this sort of temper tantrum and this immaturity when whatever their very flippant need is, whether it's we're having corn or carrots, whether we're going to see The Irishman or we're going to see Jaws, whether we're going to do this or we're going to go there, whatever, maybe they will perceive you as cutting them off in conversation, even though you're not, you're just having a basic old conversation with them. They will overreact, and basically you'll see this very immature side that's very unbecoming for the person or age or who they, extol themselves to be. Yelling, growling, kicking the air, making a face, punching the air, screaming and raising their voice. It's very inappropriate. They just think as if then you're not going to notice, or, better yet, they feel that you don't have the ability or you are not entitled to fight back. It's just like someone who is yelling at someone on the phone, and they're taking advantage of that because they feel that that person cannot defend themselves. Putting someone else down the phone. That's just sort of kind of an example, but in other words, my needs are more important than yours. My viewpoint is better and right, as it compares to yours. What I am talking about is more important than what you're talking about. For you to chime in, you cannot chime in. It is this all or nothing sort of need for attention. And it's very exorbitant. And, some people will say, oh, that's just who they are. Well, that is just who they are. But it can be very hurtful and cause problems to others. And it's not a problem for them to have a temper tantrum. It only creates problems for others. So part of that immaturity, that entitlement when they are challenged, when you start to see the rear ugly head, is when your needs start conflicting with their needs, which doesn't mean it's less important, out of place, or anything else. They're just trying to use a temper tantrum to erase your needs, to make them irrelevant, to make them invisible, non-essential, non-important, not existing, null and void, and to extinguish them. This is very serious. This is very serious. This is very serious because a lot of people fall for the aggression. They fall for the hostility. They fall for the emotional maturity. And even worse is that people then feel then that they are responsible then to take care of them, to soothe their feelings, to soothe their wounds. Oh, wait, did I do something wrong? And then all arrows are just going back to you. It must be my fault. If you stay with them long enough, and if you're, naive, and then you buy that at face value, then you'll end up labeling yourself a troublemaker, a wrongdoer, too sensitive because of this immaturity. You'll end up sort of mislabeling yourself, which is a big problem. It's a big no-no. Do not fall for their reflection in sort of the dark mirror, that they're holding up an inaccurate image in response to you. It's a complete disconnect. So you have to be willing to learn this, know this, and see through the falsehood of that immaturity, tendency, and impulse. And the problem with getting this corrected is they never feel that they have done anything wrong. They never feel that they have done anything wrong. They are always in, quote unquote, their right mind. This is an entitlement mindset. This is a pathological selfishness mindset. You will never find these people apologizing, being sorry, asking for forgiveness, being humble, realizing that they are human. It's just they feel themselves to be superhuman or not subject to the woes and sufferings that, quote unquote, most people have to go through because they do not have any really feelings inside. They don't have a conscience. They have a pathological sense of self-importance coupled with a lack of empathy, which gives them this entitlement just to sort of blow through and exploit and take advantage of others. And we talk about this a lot, but in other words, they feel that they are the rule maker and that everyone else is the rule breaker. They are the rule maker and that everyone else is the rule breaker. Even if you're behaving in a normal, appropriate way, having conversation, being yourself, they're always going to deflect just sort of guilt, trauma, shame. If they can anger, hatred, if they can deflect back, then they've got you on unsteady ground. So you're not able to be centered and focused and connected to your power. They're just trying to unplug this. They're trying to unplug your power, unplug your confidence, unplug your being centered and aligned in your balance. They're trying to throw you off balance, throw you off kilter, because then they can push you over. This is just what the bully does. They come barreling down and then, huff and puff, and then people are so scared that they're then easily pushed over, easily convinced to do things for them. Then they become identifying with the bully. They then must take care of the bully's needs. Here, feed the bully. Here, do the work for the bully. Here, do the effort for the bully. You're basically spoon feeding the bully. And then they'll just, and then they'll take down the nicest, the most positive, the most giving of people. These are the takers of the world. They will take down the most kindest. They will attack the most generous. They will attack the most hardworking, the people who have worked long and hard. They'll take it in one fall swoop. Assets or estates that have taken decades and years or generations in the making. All of a sudden, they feel like that they are just to write their own name on the bottom line and then help themselves to this, as if this is just what life is supposed to give them because this is what they are wanting. It is very cold, calculating, no matter what it is that they want, whether it's money, whether it's property, whether it's attention. I mean, this is just what they do. This is what they eat, breathe, and sleep. and then you're constantly being made to feel, so that immaturity is that other adults are in the wrong and that they are in the right. In other words, they will constantly feel that what they are attending to is more important than anyone else. What I have to say, what I have to do, what I have to show you, how I act is more important. As if you had signed off, yeah, let's just only hear from you because you're more important. As if you're just supposed to cooperate with this unspoken agenda or contract. It almost feels like a contract. It's almost as if like they have this unwritten rule book of entitlement. I mean, it feels that way because it's very resistive to change. It's very stubborn. It's ingrained. It might seem very righteous, but they are using this is an immaturity, an age inappropriate way of manipulating to get their way. It's if they can punch you in the face, then they can say, look, you didn't, pick up your wallet. You didn't see it because I punched you in the face. I mean, in other words, if they hurt you and you double over and drop, your car keys, and then they take off with your car, well, you dropped your car keys. I mean, the car is mine. I mean, it's these ludicrous ways of thinking, or I would say, deductive reasoning that is very unreasonable. It does not make any sense. So they'll violate any sort of rules or protocol or societal norms that have even been there for generations or hundreds of years, or what have you. Like in people's culture, you might have a way of doing things, and then they want to just disrespect it. Even though this is a long-standing tradition, they will make fun of it. It's woo-woo, wah-wah, whatever they're going to call it, poopy-poppy. I mean, they're just going to degrade it. It's so very hurtful to people who have long-standing values, beliefs, principles, integrity, because these people do not have integrity. They do not have integrity. They just don't. They might appear as if sometimes, but they are not operating out of a moral compass. Period. End of story. We can repeat this again and again, and we will, until you understand how this immaturity manifests in relationships. It is never their fault. Someone cut me off. Someone got in my way. Someone is an obstacle. Someone is eclipsing me. It's always someone else's fault. They are never in the wrong. This is an immaturity, just like a little 2-year-old. My popsicle, my popsicle, my popsicle. No, that was for the other kid in line, and you just went and grabbed it. No, this is my popsicle. I want the red one. I mean, they will never feel that they have done anything wrong. All they see is what they want in the moment. And there's no convincing them of otherwise. There is no logical discussion. There is no communication. There is no understanding. And, if you give in and shut up, then you are usually the one who is receiving the hurt and the wound, and you are being taken advantage of emotionally. You are being, emotionally abused. You're being taught to feel hurt, so you can't stand up for your truth, your needs, your presence, your I am. If they could just wipe you out of the picture, well, maybe that they would. I mean, if you are perceived as interfering with their needs, interfering with their prize, interfering with their glory, interfering with their motherlode, interfering with their entitlement and their grandiosity, it is just a misperception. And so you see this immaturity, and it's, and I was just talking. Well, we were just talking. I mean, it's just and then it's very much in the moment, and then they will never act as if you are unforgivable, which is inhuman. So they keep you to these inhuman standards. You are unforgivable. You are unlovable. You are, your hair is too dry. You will never make a good person. It just gets to be ludicrous. It gets ridiculous. You got a you failed this one class and you will never make it in life. I mean, they will hold these irrational measuring sticks to you that have no bearing in reality, but the way that they do it, and then the force and the immaturity is so, it creates such a crazy making that people oftentimes can't think clearly. So they temporarily succeed. They throw people off. They throw a wrench in it. They foul things up. They make things worse. This is what we were calling pejorative. They have a tendency to make things worse, not better. If you are in alignment with their goals, i.e., they want something and you help them get it, then they'll be your best friend. If they want your contacts, your business contacts, and you invite them into your office and you show them your Rolodex, they'll be your best friend. If they want the big elephant clients, and then you go on talking about all the elephant client stuff, oh my God, you've got the wisest business partner. If you're talking about some sort of inheritance, and if you can help them get closer to the inheritance, oh, you're just rowing their canoe for them. You're just helping them upstream. You're just helping power them closer to their goal. Put a rudder in it, why don't you? And put me on a motorboat so I can go a little bit, quicker to whatever it is that they want. So they will really sort of take from people in blind sight. It's very, very sad. Very, very sad. They are blameless. They want things immediately. If you have hurt them in the moment, you've stepped on their toes even though you haven't. I mean, there's this insinuation of guilt and false accusation that you can never ask for forgiveness of. I mean, this is how you know it's off. You can, no apologies. You will be eternally shamed because you cut the carrot the wrong way. You will be eternally shamed, for very, irrelevant issues, just things that I have no bearing on anything. But in their mind, if you've gotten in the way of their goal, their need, whatever it is that they want, if you're a contender, i.e., you're calling them, making them accountable for some reason, they do not like to be held accountable. So they will become very immature. Oh, well, what do we do about this? You're going to get the freak out. You're going to get the backlash. You're going to get the hang up. You're going to get the weird email, or you're going to get the weird look, or you're going to get the weird cold treatment, or whatever it is that they use, the look that could kill, the things that shut you up, the things that shut you down, the things that you begin to tolerate, and then just, I'd rather not deal with it. I mean, God love the people who have been married and have had to put up with this. I mean, who have been in vows and committed relationships where they're living under the roof or working under the roof of these people. I mean, it is just very, very, very difficult to deal with this sort of just off the handle, rash behavior. I mean, it just escalates. When you see it, you're like, oh my God, like, aren't you embarrassed for yourself that you just completely did that in front of these people? And so they will kind of use this sort of temper tantrum like, you don't want me to throw a temper tantrum, and you sort of know what that is, and then so people then tend to want to avoid the temper tantrum, so they won't talk to them, they won't hold them accountable, they won't speak up for their needs, they will allow them to get away with what other people feel they're getting away with murder. A lot of my clients have said that, I feel like they're just getting away with murder. That's what it feels like. Well, I mean, that's until you realize what you're dealing with, and then no, they're not getting away with it because you know what you're dealing with. You know the tactics, you know the pattern, and they don't know themselves. That's what's really important, is you can actually know them better than they know themselves when you really get to kind of going through this and seeing their manipulation. I mean, you can debunk it and then make it ineffective. Their attacks for immaturity, I mean, they can just as soon, cry themselves to sleep and rant and rave and become hostile and aggressive. They're basically just, they will continue this tactic because they think it will work. Other people don't want to deal with it. Other people think it's too harsh, it's too scary. Just let it blow over. Don't let it bother you. You're enabling. You're allowing this just to stay as an issue in your life, and it will become an issue because usually there's something important at stake, when they're going into this. In other words, there's something that they want, and then somehow you're perceived as being in the way, even though you're not in the way. The perception is as if. So then you become the target. You become the bad guy. You become the bad girl. Even though you're not the bad guy, you're not the bad girl, you have done nothing wrong. They're going to hang a dunce cap on you, a dunce label. They're trying to, label you, smear campaign you, paint you into a picture of something which you are not. So you have to understand what is throwing mud, and what is a smear campaign, and what is character assassination, and what are false accusations, and what is entitlement, and what is narcissism, and what is pathology, and what is dysfunction. You have to understand how all of these coalesce within this person, and how they are kind of like the pig pen of, some of you who grew up back in the day with the Peanuts, is that what they called it? Remember Pig Pen? The one who is a mess, who always has, the dust going around them. And, it's kind of like they're that inside, but on the outside, they look put together perfectly, but they will kind of come out and then be very immature. And then you'll see like this, like pig pen, like temper tantrum that just creates, just like they're swinging their own fists, they're swinging their own emotional fists around in the air. And then a lot of people usually just go back off, and then they just don't ever hold it accountable, because it's difficult to hold these people accountable. It's difficult to, to when you're dealing with a narcissist or someone who doesn't believe that they have done anything wrong, they cannot see the error of their ways because they don't have any morality. They don't have a sense of sound judgment. They don't have that maturity level to say, oh, I made a mistake. Okay, I am sorry, that was wrong. I apologize. I won't do that again. And then you shake hands. That's fairness. You shake hands, you hug, you make up, you talk about things. For them to always hold, a dark cloud around you wherever you go. It's just as if you're in a never-ending sentence of unhappiness. This is not the truth. This is just a tactic that they use. It is entitlement, it is immaturity, it is psychopathic manipulating. It is really important that you understand this for what it is, and don't become a counterforce to this force. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Be proud of your maturity. Be proud of your own sound decision making. Be proud of your own self-agency, your ability to confirm and validate yourself and have self-esteem, especially when that's the very thing that they don't want you to have, because then you might be wise up to what they are doing, and then they won't be able to get away with it. Embrace your self-esteem, embrace your ability and your trusting of your perception, embrace your ability to self-trust, and know this to be the case, and so it is, and let it go. Let it go. And so it is. Namaste. Have a beautiful day.